Hey everybody, it's me, just making another video today. This is gonna be, it was supposed to be a WrestleMania series video, but I'm gonna make that tomorrow. I'm gonna be doing that series like every Thursday and Friday now, and then it'll be some kind of a, whatever video I throw at you will be on Wednesday. So yeah, this is gonna be, I'm gonna try to mix it up. Today, this video is going to be talking about my wrestling's forgotten series, my wrestling forgotten gems, or yeah, forgotten gems, which is forgotten matches or forgotten feuds or TV titles. I mean, titles that been forgotten and pretty much nobody talks about. So yeah, it's going to be like a series I'm going to do. I already got other series that I'm doing, but this is going to be one of the other main series that I added onto what I talk about now. So yeah, but before I get to this, I gotta say that the WWE, like what Spinnernet said, the Hall of Fame has kind of been like a joke to me. I mean, it's kind of been like a joke. I gotta agree with him. I wanted to do a video response to him, but I'll just say it in this video. I totally agree with Spinnernet. The Hall of Fame's kind of been kind of a joke. I mean, you add Coco Beware, who really hasn't done anything in the WWF from the 80s to the 90s. I mean, this guy was a job guy to basically just about everybody. I mean, his biggest claim to fame was the first episode of Raw, which was back on January, I believe. Yeah, January, but I forgot the time. Yeah, January of 1993, where he faced Yokozuna and he lost, and he got jobbed. And then his other claim to fame was being a part of the New Rocker, well, being part of High Energy, which was a jobber team, and never really won any of their matches except against jobbers. So yeah, I gotta agree with Spinnernet that this guy hasn't really done anything relevant except make the Pile Driver album. But other than that, he really hasn't won any big titles or had any major feuds in the WWF to even have him considered to be Hall of Fame material. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy's talented in the ring and he's got charisma, but the guy really hasn't done anything to put himself with the elite like Ricky Steamboat or Ric Flair or anybody else that's been inducted to the Hall of Fame. But yeah, let's just throw my 2 cents into that. But yeah, let's talk about this video. This video is going to be a wrestling forgotten gem. I'm supposed to talk about the TV title. I was going to talk about the TV title, but I didn't get no notes about that, so I just thought I'd talk about something that clicked in my head, and clicked in my head, and I just thought I'd do a video about it. This video is going to be talking about Chris Benoit versus Raven feud. My opinion, probably one of the most interesting feuds in WCW. I mean, this feud started in late November of 1997, I believe, right after World War III, 1997, World War III, yeah, 1997, and it started with Chris Benoit having a match, and then Raven would come to the ringside, and then he would ask Benoit if he would join his flock, and Benoit would keep turning him down because at this time the Four Horsemen was still there, but you only had the two members, I believe. It was Chris Benoit and Arn Anderson and Ric Flair, I guess. And yeah, Ric Flair, I guess. But I believe he was taking, Ric Flair, Ric Flair. And he didn't want to abandon the Four Horsemen to join Raven's flock, so Raven took exception to this, and when Benoit ended up after Benoit finished his matchup, Raven would come to the ring and then just attack him, and then he just would keep attacking him, and this kind of made Chris Benoit furious. So this is how the feud started, and it was a pretty interesting feud. Then Chris Benoit kind of wanted to get his hands on Raven, but Raven said, "No, you're not gonna. In order for you to get to me, you're gonna have to go through all the members of the flock." So Chris Benoit did that. The first member, I believe, was I believe it was Scotty Riggs, and Chris Benoit made short work of him. Then I believe the other member was Billy Kidman at the time, when Billy Kidman wasn't really getting pushed, but he was still in the cruiserweight ranks to the point where he's winning some of his matches. The other person was Lodi, who was the job guy of the flock, and then I believe the last person he went through till he finally got to Raven was Van Hammer, and he made quick work of him. Then went on to Starrcade 1997. I mean, yes. Then they feuded. I mean, yeah, he beat all the members of the flock. Then they went on to Starrcade 1997. Well, oh yeah, he went on to have a match with Perry Saturn before he got to Raven, which was January. Yeah, he had a match with Perry Saturn, and I believe he beat Perry Saturn. I'm not sure, but those two had a really good matchup where I believe either Perry Saturn or Chris Benoit won. I'm not sure. Would have to check that match out again, but yeah. And then after that, yeah, I believe Chris Benoit beat him, and then after that, they would end up having a feud. He would end up getting his wish as he would face Raven at WCW NWO Sold Out 1998, where those two would have a really good matchup with Raven's rules, and Chris Benoit just beat the hell out of Raven. I mean, he took his shirt off, he kept slapping the skin off of Raven, and he just pretty much gave Raven the pain and punishment that Raven wanted, and giving him all the pain that Benoit had been feeling from him when he was getting attacked by Raven in the flock. And that you would think that the feud would have ended there, but no, it didn't. Because after Chris Benoit got done with Raven, he ended up having a match with DDP, and then he would be in a triple threat match with Raven and DDP at Uncensored, and then after Uncensored, he would finally have the feud would finally end on the spring break episode of WCW Nitro, where the winner will go on to face DDP at Spring Stampede, where these two had a really good matchup. And I believe this was the Nitro where you saw Sting come from the helicopter, have his entrance from where he came from the helicopter, very good entrance, and this was a pretty good Nitro, and this was a good matchup between the two that ended the feud, of course, with Raven going over to set up the match between Raven and DDP. But overall, this was a really good feud, even though it really was kind of a short feud. I would have loved to see this feud be extended longer in WCW 1997, late 1997 to 98, to beginning of 1998, because this was probably the most interesting thing that was going on in WCW, because the stuff with the NWO, who's turning on who, and then members join, and then people joining the NWO left and right, kind of got old and boring, and it kind of was fresh to see something new with a new storyline that was transpiring that had something to do with WCW wrestlers, with the Raven's flock against Chris Benoit, or Raven against Chris Benoit, which was a really good feud. And many reasons why I think this was a good feud was simply the fact that this kind of elevated Raven to a more hated heel. Like, he got a lot of hate. He got a lot of hate when he went up against Chris Benoit. And him, after his match with Chris Benoit, he went on to have a match with DDP, and the hate extended even more. So yeah, that's kind of why I think this was a forgotten gem, because they had excellent matches, but people don't really care or even acknowledge this feud or this brief feud or the matches. Simply the fact that most people, all they cared about was the NWO and who was joining and this and that. But many people need to remember that the Chris Benoit and Raven feud was probably one of the best feuds in the later part of 97 to the early part of 98. Just a good brief feud that set up two things. It set up the DDP Raven feud, and then it set up Benoit's push to the TV title. I mean, the U.S. title, and then to the TV title. And yeah, that's why I have this as a forgotten gem, because WWE doesn't really put this on the WWE on demand. Simply the fact that because of the Chris Benoit thing, but WWE needs to get over it and just put some classic Chris Benoit moments and stuff like that, because this was probably, like I said, one of the best feuds, and they had a lot of good matches, and it tends to get forgotten because of the NWO and who was joining and all that other stuff. But yeah, anyhow, that's just giving you my quick video of this Forgotten Gem, a Chris Benoit Raven feud. Hope you like my video, and I'm out. Peace.